Hello, everyone. I'm the Scarred Storyteller, and I'm here to help you unwind today. If you're using this video to fall asleep, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel before you drift off. By the way, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you? Now, get cozy, relax, and let's begin. The basement archives of Oakwood Memorial Hospital were a maze of gunmetal filing cabinets and flickering fluorescent lights, stretching into shadowy corners that hadn't seen daylight since the building's construction in 1962. As the new night shift medical records clerk, it was my job to digitize 60 years' worth of patient files, a task that would take months, if not years, to complete. My predecessor, Marion, had left abruptly after 15 years on the job. No 2-week notice, no forwarding address. Just an empty desk and thousands of uncategorized files. The hospital administrator had been vague about her departure, muttering something about personal reasons before practically shoving me into the basement office on my first day. I didn't mind the solitude. After my messy divorce, working alone in a quiet basement seemed like paradise. Just me, my scanner, and endless boxes of yellowing medical records. The pay wasn't great, but the health insurance was excellent, and I needed the stability. Besides, how difficult could it be to scan old documents? That's what I thought during my first week. Before I found the file. It started with a power fluctuation, common in buildings this old. The lights dimmed, my ancient computer monitor flickered, and the scanner made a sound like it was choking. When everything stabilized, I noticed the paper jam light blinking. Sighing, I opened the scanner's panel. The stuck paper was old, its edges crumbling. Not unusual for records from the 60s. But as I carefully extracted it, I noticed something odd. Unlike the standard forms I'd been processing, this paper was covered in handwritten notes. The handwriting was frantic, words crammed together, some sentences written at odd angles as if the author couldn't keep their hand steady. Patient number 2317, Sarah Winters. Admitted, October 15, 1963. Symptoms, initially presented with mild anxiety, insomnia. Current status, redacted. Notes, she sees them too. They're in the walls. They're in all the walls. Not hallucinations. Real. Must document everything before they. The note ended mid-sentence. A coffee stain obscured part of the page, but something about it bothered me. It was too dark, too red to be coffee. I checked the filing cabinet where this record should have originated. The drawer stuck, metal shrieking against metal until it finally gave way. Inside, manila folders were arranged with military precision, except for one gap, precisely where patient number 2317 should have been. My rational mind said to ignore it. Probably just an old file that got lost during one of the hospital's many renovations. But something about those desperate words nagged at me. I'd seen thousands of patient records over the past week, all following the same sterile, clinical format. This was different. Personal. Terrified. I opened the records database on my computer, searching for Sarah Winters. Nothing. I tried variations of the name, different date ranges. Still nothing. According to official records, patient number 2317 had never existed. The fluorescent light above my desk chose that moment to sputter and die. In the dim light from my monitor, I noticed something I'd missed on the paper. There was writing on the back. Holding it up to the screen's glow, I could just make out more of the frenzied scrawl. Day 47, they're getting closer. Started in pediatrics, now they're in geriatrics. Moving through the hospital like a disease. Sarah saw them first. We thought she was delusional. We were wrong. So wrong. They take people into the walls. We hear screaming, then nothing. Administration won't listen. Says I'm overworked. Need sleep. But I'm not crazy. Watch the patients at night. Watch how they stare at the walls. They know. They all know. A chill ran down my spine. I'd noticed something similar my first few nights, how the few remaining long-term patients would sometimes stare intently at blank walls, tracking something invisible with their eyes. I'd dismissed it as medication side effects. The writing continued, growing more erratic. Day 51, found old blueprints. Hospital built on something else. Older building. Much older. Walls too thick in some places. Spaces that shouldn't exist. Sarah kept talking about the spaces. Said they were full of teeth and eyes and hunger. Then she disappeared. They said transferred. No record. No paperwork. Just gone. Like the others. Day 54, they know I know. Hearing scratching in my office walls. Movement in corners of my eyes. Need to hide these notes. Need to warn others. If you're reading this, don't trust the blank spaces. Don't trust the walls. They're not. Another abrupt ending. The rest of the page was blank, save for more of those reddish-brown stains. I jumped as my computer pinged, a new email. The timestamp read 3:33 a.m. No subject line, sent from an internal hospital address I didn't recognize. The message contained only an image, a scan of what looked like an old employee ID card. The photo showed a woman in her 40s, brown hair streaked with gray, tired eyes behind cat-eye glasses. The name read Marion Chambers. My predecessor. She looked exactly like the woman I'd seen in the employee photos on the wall upstairs, except this ID was dated 1963. The power went out. In the perfect darkness, I heard something. A soft scraping sound, like fingernails on drywall, coming from inside the walls. Then another sound, closer. The metal groan of a filing cabinet drawer opening by itself. My phone's flashlight offered little comfort as I bolted for the stairs. Behind me, I heard papers rustling, thousands of patient files fluttering in a wind that shouldn't exist 5 stories underground. As I reached the stairwell, I glanced back. In the weak beam of my phone light, I saw the walls ripple. Like something massive was moving inside them, pressing against the paint and plaster. Something with too many angles, too many edges. For a split second, I saw what looked like an eye blink open in the wall, ancient, aware, hungry. I ran. The stairwell door slammed behind me with a finality that echoed through the concrete chamber. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my footsteps thundering in the enclosed space. Above me, other footsteps echoed, lighter, skittering, moving in patterns that defied gravity. I didn't look up. I burst into the main lobby, gasping, startling the night nurse at the reception desk. The overhead lights hummed normally here, everything clean and modern and safe. No trace of the nightmare below. "Are you okay?" the nurse asked, rising from her chair. Her name tag read Sarah. I stared at her. Young, blonde, nothing like the patient from 1963. Just a coincidence. Had to be. "I'm fine," I managed. "Just, power outage in the basement. Spooked me." She frowned. "Basement? That area's been closed for renovation since Marion, since the incident last month. No one's supposed to be down there." My blood ran cold. "What incident? You don't know?" "Marion, the old records clerk, they found her office empty one morning. Signs of a struggle. Blood on the walls." She lowered her voice. "They said she must have had some kind of breakdown. Tore up a bunch of old files, wrote all over the walls in her own blood. Never found her body." I pulled out the paper I'd taken from the scanner. The reddish-brown stains seemed darker now, fresher. "But I've been working down there all week," I said. "They gave me Marion's old job, The administrator himself showed me to the office. Sarah's face went pale. "We haven't had an administrator for 6 months. Not since." She stopped, staring at something behind me. I turned slowly. Through the lobby's plate glass windows, I could see my reflection. And behind it, another reflection, a man in a suit, smiling. His teeth were wrong, too many, and too sharp. Where his eyes should have been, there were only blank spaces, like holes punched in reality. He reached for me with hands that bent in impossible ways. I blinked, and he was gone. But in the basement below, I heard the filing cabinets begin to open, one by one, like hungry mouths yawning wide. Sarah grabbed my arm. "Run," she whispered. "Before they realize you saw them. Run, and don't look back. Don't ever look back." I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my car. As I fumbled with my keys, I looked back at the hospital. In every window, patients stood staring out into the night. No, not out, they were staring at the walls beside them. Watching something move within them. In my rearview mirror, I saw the thing that wasn't really an administrator standing in the hospital entrance. It raised one distorted hand in farewell, its smile spreading literally from ear to ear. Behind it, the hospital wall seemed to pulse, like a heart beating. I never went back to Oakwood Memorial. Found a new job in a different city, as far from that hospital as I could get. But sometimes, late at night, I hear scratching in my apartment walls. And in the corner of my eye, I catch glimpses of blank spaces that shouldn't be there, growing larger, hungrier. They followed me home. Last week, I received another email from that same internal hospital address. Just another image, a patient file. My name was at the top. The admission date was 1963. The photo was my face, but older, wearing cat eye glasses. Below it, 2 words in that same frantic handwriting. "Found you." I'm writing this now because the power in my building keeps flickering, and the walls are starting to ripple. I can hear the scratching getting closer, and there's a smile reflected in my computer screen that isn't mine. I need someone to know what happened. Need to warn others. If you're reading this, stay away from Oakwood Memorial Hospital. Stay away from blank spaces in walls. And if you ever find yourself working alone in a basement archive, pay attention to the patient files. Especially the ones that don't exist. Because sometimes the truth hides in redacted records and missing papers. Sometimes the most dangerous stories are the ones that have been erased. And sometimes, the walls do more than just listen. They hunger. I have to go now. Someone's knocking on my door, a precise, mechanical rhythm that no human hand could make. Through the peephole, I can see a familiar suit, an impossible smile. The walls are breathing. They found me again. Don't look for me in the hospital records. You won't find me there. Just like you won't find Sarah Winters, or Marion Chambers, or all the others who learned what really lives in the spaces between spaces. We're in the walls now. And soon, you might be too.